Turkey's recent decision has sent shockwaves through NATO, leaving the United States in a tough spot. What could push such an important ally to take such a bold and unexpected step? In today's video, we're diving deep into this unfolding story to figure out how Turkey's surprising move is shaking up global alliances and what it means for the future of international relations. For years, Turkey has been a key player in NATO. Positioned at the meeting point of Europe and Asia with one of the biggest and strongest militaries in the alliance, its control over key waterways makes it even more critical. But now, Turkey's latest actions have raised alarms and stirred uncertainty among its allies, making it clear that something major is happening behind the scenes. In this video, we'll break down what's driving Turkey's decision. We'll look at energy deals with Russia, controversial military purchases that have caught the world's eye, and the tricky balancing act Turkey has been managing between East and West. These moves are not only shifting Turkey's position within NATO, but also changing its relationships with countries across the globe. So what made Turkey take such a daring step? And how will it affect the region, possibly changing the balance of power? Stick around as we peel back the layers of this geopolitical shakeup and uncover what it means for the future. Remember when everyone thought Turkey was a rock-solid NATO ally? Well, one arms deal turned all that upside down. This wasn't just about missiles. It was a power move that left the US and NATO scrambling to figure out how to respond. The big question is, was this a well-thought-out risk or a huge mistake? Yeah, Turkey's choice to buy the Russian S-400 missile defense system sent shockwaves through NATO and put serious strain on its relationship with the United States. This wasn't just about buying military gear. It was a bold statement, challenging the very core of Turkey's alliance with the West. The problem? The S-400 system doesn't work with NATO's equipment, especially the F-35 fighter jets. This raised huge security concerns for NATO because there was a fear that the Russian system could spy on NATO's operations, putting the alliance's defense strategy at risk. The United States didn't waste any time responding. In a serious move, the US kicked Turkey out of the F-35 program. This wasn't just a minor punishment, it was a huge blow to Turkey's plans to modernize its military. And the consequences didn't stop there. The US also hit Turkey with sanctions under the Countering America's Adversaries Through Sanctions Act, CAATSA. This was a rare and dramatic move. Sanctioning a fellow NATO ally showed just how bad things had gotten. Why would Turkey take such a big risk? Well, President Erdogan's government has been pushing for more independence in foreign policy and defense. Turkey wants to have more control over its own decisions, even if it means going against NATO. But this push for autonomy has created major tension within the alliance, which is based on collective defense and shared goals. The S-400 deal is about more than just military hardware. It's a symptom of deeper issues in Turkey's relationship with NATO and the West. Turkey's growing closeness to Russia has raised alarms within NATO, which sees Russia as its main strategic rival. This shift is worrying for the alliance's unity and military cooperation. Turkey is trying to walk a fine line here. On one hand, it wants to stay in NATO and keep the security benefits that come with it. On the other hand, it's building closer ties with Russia, NATO's biggest opponent. This balancing act has put Turkey at odds with its traditional allies and raised big questions about where its loyalty truly lies. The fallout from Turkey's S-400 decision has forced NATO to deal with internal divisions and conflicting interests. It's a reminder that even strong alliances can face challenges when individual countries decide to go their own way. For the US, this situation has sparked a reevaluation of its relationship with Turkey, a key ally in a critical part of the world. Looking at the bigger picture, Turkey's move has shaken up the geopolitical landscape in the region. NATO is now rethinking how it can keep its members united while dealing with countries that might not always follow the group's rules. Meanwhile, the US has had to take a hard look at its partnership with Turkey and what that means for its future strategy. While NATO wrestles with Turkey's military decisions, another major partnership with Russia is quietly unfolding in the background. Turkey's first nuclear power plant isn't just an energy project. It's a bold $24 billion statement of independence. But what does this mean for its ties with the West? Turkey's collaboration with Russia on the Akuyu nuclear power plant is a game-changer. Valued at $24 billion, this is the biggest investment on a single site in Turkey's history. And it's not just about keeping the lights on. This is a huge step toward energy independence and Turkey's goal of reaching carbon neutrality by 2053. The Akuyu plant is set to supply about 10% of Turkey's electricity. That's a massive chunk of power that Turkey won't need to import, which helps reduce its reliance on foreign energy sources. But here's where things get tricky. The project is being developed by Russia's Rosatom using a build-own-operate model. This setup has sparked concerns within NATO, especially as Turkey's relationship with Russia continues to grow. Building the Akuyu plant hasn't been smooth sailing. Delays in getting equipment have pushed back the timeline, with Rosatom turning to Chinese suppliers to keep the project moving. Germany, a NATO ally, has also delayed sending crucial parts, causing even more setbacks. These delays show how tangled the international connections and economic dependencies around this project really are. Despite the bumps in the road, Turkey is all in. The first reactor is expected to be operational by 2025, and all reactors should be up and running by 2028. This is a huge milestone for Turkey as it inches closer to energy independence. But the partnership goes deeper than just building a power plant. Turkish engineers are being trained in Russia as part of the deal, showing a deepening connection between the two countries. Turkey's decision to work with Russia on this major energy project comes at a time when its relationships with Western allies are already tense. Turkey's neutral stance on international sanctions against Russia, especially after the Ukraine conflict, has caused unease among NATO members. Now, this energy deal with Russia, along with growing military cooperation, adds another layer of complexity to Turkey's foreign policy. For Turkey, the Akuyu project is about more than just electricity. It's a way to show strategic autonomy, cut down on energy imports, and work toward climate goals. But for NATO and the US, it's another sign that Turkey's foreign policy is becoming more complicated and harder to predict. The big question now is how this will impact Turkey's standing in NATO and its relationships with Western allies in the long run. Looking at the bigger picture, Turkey's energy strategy is reshaping its relationships on multiple levels. On one hand, it's strengthening ties with Russia through economic cooperation. On the other hand, it's potentially widening the gap between Turkey and its NATO allies. This delicate balancing act shows just how complex global relationships have become in today's world. Turkey's recent moves on the global stage have left many people scratching their heads. But what if these surprising actions are all part of a well-thought-out plan? In today's video, we're going to break down how Turkey is skillfully using its unique position between East and West to secure its interests in ways that few could have predicted. At first glance, Turkey's actions might seem confusing, but they're actually part of a broader strategy that's changing its role on the world stage. One of the biggest examples of this is Turkey's neutral stance on international sanctions against Russia, especially after the conflict in Ukraine. By staying neutral, Turkey has managed to keep its connections with both sides open, putting itself in a powerful position as a possible mediator in the ongoing crisis. This neutrality has paid off in more ways than one. Trade between Turkey and Russia has soared, reaching over $65 billion in 2023. This economic boost couldn't come at a better time for Turkey, which is facing serious challenges at home and frustration over stalled talks about joining the European Union. But Turkey's strategy isn't just about keeping good relations with Russia. It's also taking steps to reduce its reliance on the US dollar in trade, especially when it comes to energy deals with Russia. Turkey isn't the only country trying to de-dollarize, but it's a big deal for a NATO member to be moving in this direction. Turkey is even exploring the idea of currency swaps to make trade easier by using local currencies instead of the dollar. This clever move helps Turkey get around international sanctions and build stronger economic ties with emerging markets. By doing this, Turkey is making its economy more diverse and less vulnerable to financial pressure from the West. These economic moves are part of a bigger plan. With talks to join the EU going nowhere and tensions rising over energy exploration in the Mediterranean, Turkey is looking to the east for new opportunities. Its growing relationships with Russia and China aren't just about making money, they're about creating new strategic options. Turkey is walking a very fine line between East and West. On one hand, it stays in NATO, which gives it security guarantees. On the other hand, it follows its own path even when it clashes with its Western allies. This strategy lets Turkey take full advantage of its unique geographic and strategic position. Look at how Turkey has acted as a mediator in the Ukraine conflict. This is a great example of its balancing act in action. By keeping communication open with both Russia and Ukraine, Turkey has made itself a key player in regional diplomacy. This not only raises Turkey's standing on the global stage, but also gives it more influence when negotiating with both Eastern and Western powers. Of course, this strategy isn't without risks. Turkey's actions have strained relationships with some NATO allies, especially the United States. Its decision to buy the Russian S-400 missile system and its reluctance to fully support Western sanctions on Russia have created tensions within the alliance. But Turkey seems to be betting that its strategic importance will outweigh these concerns in the long run. Turkey's balancing act also plays out in its military operations. Some of its actions have been controversial, but Turkey remains involved in regional security partnerships. It's a tricky game of asserting its independence while still maintaining crucial alliances. As we break down Turkey's approach, it becomes clear that this isn't just a random series of moves. It's a carefully calculated strategy that allows Turkey to navigate the complexities of international politics while securing its own interests. Stick around to see how this geopolitical balancing act could reshape Turkey's role in the world. Turkey's recent actions have really shown how complicated its position is within NATO. The alliance is now facing some big challenges as it tries to manage disagreements among its members while keeping everyone united. NATO has to navigate Turkey's careful balancing act between East and West, which might even serve as a model for other countries dealing with similar geopolitical situations. Looking to the future, the relationship between Turkey and NATO could go in a few different directions. Turkey might choose to continue pursuing its own strategic interests, which could lead to even more tension. On the other hand, there's a chance that diplomatic efforts could result in a renewed commitment to NATO's shared goals. Whatever happens, the results will likely have a huge impact on global politics and security. As we step into a time of shifting alliances, Turkey's actions stand out as an important example of the changing dynamics in international relations. This situation highlights how crucial it is for NATO to adapt to new geopolitical realities, while still sticking to its core principles of collective defense and shared strategic objectives. Stay tuned as we explore how this balancing act could reshape the future of NATO and global politics.